Welcome back to Newsroom. We've got Business Matters with Don Ma, of course. Don, good to see you. How's it going?
Good to see you as always. I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing good. Cannot complain. Tell us what's going on today.
Okay, starting off with a quick update on Denny's here. So your opportunities to get a grand slam at 3 in the morning are about to shrink dramatically. And that is because Denny's announced yesterday it's closing 150 restaurants in the next year or so. 50 of them will shutter by the end of this year, with another 100 diners set to go dark in 2025. So with that being said, still leaving about 1,400 locations open, but corporate Denny's is taking a lighter hand on requiring franchisees to stay open 24 hours a day. That means your local Denny's may start closing around the same time as other restaurants. About 25% of all Denny's never went back to 24/7 operating hours after the pandemic. Denny's also planning to cut its menu options by more than half, going from 97 items to just 46. Also, a government watchdog has ordered Goldman Sachs and Apple to pay a combined $89 million over what it calls the mishandling of their Apple Card partnership. Goldman was fined $45 million and will have to pay customers $20 million for redress. Apple was fined $25 million. The U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau also temporarily banned Goldman from issuing new credit cards. The agency says the failures left customers with unresolved charge disputes, long waits to get money back, and in some cases, incorrect credit reports. So the Bureau also found the companies misled customers about interest-free payments, interest-free payment plans for Apple gadgets. And American Airlines gives some unpleasant news. The Transportation Department said today it was fining the company a record $50 million for its treatment of disabled passengers, and that includes failing to provide some with adequate assistance and mishandling wheelchairs. The fine is 25 times larger than the previous highest airline penalty for violating disability protection. The department said the move is setting a new precedent for future enforcement. Under the terms of a settlement, American will pay $25 million over 3 years. It was also credited with $25 million for investments to address the issues and goodwill compensation to impacted passengers. American Airlines did not admit liability, though, in reaching the settlement. Lufthansa said today that it will extend the suspension of its flights to Tehran and Beirut until early next year for operational reasons. Flights to Tehran will be suspended until January 31st, 2025. And as for Beirut, it's going to be suspended until February 28th, 2025. Lufthansa, Swiss, Austrian Airlines, Brussels Airlines, and Eurowings are all part of the Lufthansa group. Swiss said that flights to Beirut will be canceled until January 18th, 2025. The airline said it made this decision to provide better planning and certainty for its passengers and as well as crew. And Warren Buffett will not endorse investment products or political candidates in this year's general elections. And this is according to a statement on Berkshire Hathaway's website. This is an apparent effort to ward off people trying to capitalize on Buffett's reputation. Buffett said to CNBC, the statement resulted partially from a fake political endorsement on Instagram. He says that he doesn't know how to use Instagram and that anything seen with his image or voice is not him. Buffett has been a supporter of Democratic leaders like former President Barack Obama and former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Meanwhile, an E. coli outbreak linked to McDonald's has killed one person and sickened dozens in the United States. Cases were found across 10 states, with most illnesses reported in Colorado and Nebraska. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control, or CDC, on Tuesday said it was linked to one of the fast food chain's most popular menu items, the Quarter Pounder. Here's more on that.
Investigators have yet to identify the specific ingredient linked to the illness, but they're looking into fresh slivered onions and fresh beef patties. The E. coli strain involved was the same as the one that killed 4 children in 1993, after they had eaten undercooked hamburgers at Jack in the Box. U.S. Food Safety Attorney Bill Mahler, who represented a victim in that outbreak, said onions have been linked to prior cases. McDonald's said in a statement it is temporarily removing the Quarter Pounder from restaurants in states such as Colorado, Kansas, Utah, and Wyoming. Shares of McDonald's plummeted in extended trading. A livestock trader warned U.S. cattle futures could be pressured on Wednesday too.
Now, it's worth mentioning that symptoms of E. coli include severe stomach cramps, diarrhea, and vomiting. Most people start feeling sick 3 to 4 days after eating or drinking something that contains the bacteria. Now, in 2015, burrito chain Chipotle saw its sales battered and reputation hit as well due to E. coli outbreaks in several states. All right, moving on from that, Boeing leaking billions in cash as a strike vote draws nearer. CEO Kelly Ortberg says Boeing is a big ship that will take some time to turn around. Here's that story.
Boeing is bleeding billions in cash as 33,000 workers continue striking.
Strike on, boys! Strike on!
The company had an over $6 billion net loss in the third quarter, with a free cash flow of negative $1.95 billion. CEO Kelly Ortberg says Boeing is a big ship that will take some time to turn.
There's no silver bullet. This isn't going to be fixed in one fell swoop. We've got a lot of issues here.
Ortberg brought up Boeing's problems: low trust, too much debt, over $57 billion, and poor performance. At the same time, he said Boeing has a lot of potential: $500 billion in unfulfilled demand and a customer base that needs its product. Ortberg's first priority: ending the strike. Union members are currently voting on whether to approve a new contract.
Say no to the contract! Say no to the contract!
Some analysts believe workers will reject the latest proposal.
I'm trying to encourage everybody to again vote for a contract that's not a good contract. Like I said, the general wage increase is pittance compared to I feel we should be getting to meet inflation.
The new contract offers a 35% pay raise and a $7,000 ratification bonus. But this is short of the union's demand for a 40% pay increase and reinstatement of defined benefit pension plans.
You know, we're the ones that make it happen, building the airplane, and they're still not recognizing the fact that they wouldn't be where they're at or be receiving what they're receiving if it weren't for us.
Boeing worker Bartley Stokes says he'd be sad if they approved the new contract, which he says is not a good one.
Their primary manufacturing hub is in one of the most expensive areas that's seen the most inflationary pressure in the country. So I think that the workforce has legitimate complaints.
Aerospace expert David Noletti says despite the bad news, CEO Kelly Ortberg is bringing a positive tone to Boeing.
He is clearly identified the major areas that he wants to work on, and he's prioritized them, and he's focusing on solving the machinist strike first, putting some cost control measures in place to try and slow down cash burn, and then focused on ramping production.
Ortberg says he's encouraged by the progress Boeing is making and that they need to continue the momentum.
And Starbucks' new CEO, Brian Niccol, has his work cut out for him amid a sharp drop in sales for the third consecutive quarter. Niccol also has to contend with baristas and customers who say they want plenty of changes. Here's the story.
Starbucks has suspended its 2025 forecast as CEO Brian Niccol works to fix the global coffee chain. In preliminary results on Tuesday, it also posted another quarterly slump in sales, with fewer people buying its pricey drinks. Niccol said Starbucks needs to change its strategy to grow again, and that's the goal of his Back to Starbucks plan. He also said the company will make the menu simpler and fix their prices. Tuesday's numbers showed sales, revenue, and profit were down because of low demand in the US. Its chief financial officer said that even with increased spending, they couldn't stop a drop in customer visits and are working on a plan to improve, but warned it would take time. Starbucks boosted its quarterly dividend to 61 cents per share to reassure investors about its turnaround plan. As part of that plan, Niccol said they want to change marketing and focus on all customers, not just Starbucks Rewards members. In his first speech as CEO last month, Nichols said he wants to make Starbucks a community coffee house again in the US. His clean slate approach is similar to what Nike CEO Elliott Hill plans to do, as Nike had also faced declining sales under its previous leader. Shares have risen 28% since Nichols was named CEO in a surprise move in August. However, it fell around 4 percentage points in after-hours trade. Starbucks plans to release its final quarterly earnings next week.
Sales of existing homes in the U.S. are on track for a repeat of the worst year since the 90s. Figures from the National Association of Realtors show sales in 2023 dipped to the lowest in 3 decades, and sales for the first 9 months of this year are lower than last year's. In fact, September sales declined to an almost 14-year low. Potential home buyers have been kicked to the curb by high home prices and elevated mortgage rates. And speaking of mortgage rates, slipped to a 2-year low last month, but have ticked right back up. Uncertainty over November's election and climbing home insurance costs are adding to the slump in sales. Many parts of the country also have listing inventory below historic levels. And the world's largest computer chip maker is warning the U.S. of a potential violation with China. Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company said there was a potential attempt by China's Huawei to dodge U.S. export controls. And these controls prohibit the chip maker from producing AI chips for the Chinese company. The U.S. government said that it established the restrictions to limit the Chinese regime's military capabilities. Huawei is a primary target of these restrictions, which shows the growing rivalry in the tech sector between Beijing and Washington. Now, staying with China, the country is ramping up its car production overseas, and this is based on a report by Bloomberg. So, Chinese automakers could more than double their manufacturing capabilities in a matter of years, and this would be to combat import tariffs from the US and as well as the EU and more. As a result, investments in manufacturing outside of China are booming. As of last year, Bloomberg found Chinese car makers have full process facilities across 9 countries and with a capacity of about 1.2 million vehicles. Now, if companies deliver on their timelines, Bloomberg calculated that capacity could hit 2.7 million cars by 2026. The New York Liberty has won the WNBA championship this year. We're now going to NTD Sean Marshall, who takes a look at the factors that have made it a winning team.
5 games went into overtime with a final score of 67-62. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is thanking the team for the championship win with a ticker tape parade on October 24th.
And then after that, we're going to have an amazing ceremony right here at City Hall to say thank you to our heroes. Congratulations, New York Liberty WNBA champions.
I'm on record for saying that in 10 years, I think the New York Liberty can be the first billion-dollar women's sports franchise. Clara Wusai, co-owner of the WNBA's New York Liberty, said at a Bloomberg conference. The team was purchased in 2019 by Joe Tsai, co-founder of the Chinese e-commerce company Alibaba Group Holding, for an undisclosed sum. He and his wife are also majority owners of the Brooklyn Nets. Although the WNBA will lose $40 million this season, the New York Liberty are showing gains with average regular season attendance of nearly 13,000, up 64% over the last year, and season ticket membership up 152% at the venue and arenas during the series. Even the team mascot Ellie the Elephant has been gaining its own following with over 130,000 followers on Instagram and over 185,000 followers on TikTok. I'm not even a Liberty fan. I was rooting for them in the finals, but I absolutely love you, your energy, your confidence. It is amazing, said a user on the X app. With halftime performances and a larger-than-life persona, Ellie is one of the rare mascots to become a star in her own right. To use free agency to put together a super team and become a contender. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
Okay, here's the question. How much time do you need to part with loved ones at the airport? Well, New Zealand Airport is putting a limit on the sweet sorrow. Goodbye hugs at the airport will have to be very brief due to a new max 3 minutes time limit. According to CEO Dan Bono, he says that the notice has caused controversy on social media, but the airport says the signs are meant as an alternative to fines for drivers parked in departure areas. Some airports in the UK have imposed fees for all drop-offs. De Bono added that he believed a 20-second hug was long enough. Now, sometimes truly iconic figures are recognizable by a single name. Madonna, Beyonce, Cher, for example. A new documentary looks at another such notable woman. Take a look.
What does it mean to be the first female self-made billionaire in American history?
Martha Stewart may have been the original influencer. The documentary Martha chronicles her rise, fall, and return.
She was preposterously perfect. Perfect little pattern.
Perfect. Things look fabulous, but are they?
She wanted her story told. She was ready to tell her story, but in her Martha way. You know, Martha is not a woman who is comfortable with self-reflection. Martha powers forward.
The cookie cutter house and the cookie cutter life was not for me.
Director R.J. Cutler says Stewart surprised him.
My expectations were a childhood of privilege and, you know, a certain kind of proper whatever. You know, what you'd think of with Martha Stewart.
What is more important, a marriage or a career?
You told me.
I don't know.
The more she told me, the more I saw an opportunity to make a film about American womanhood.
This is a targeted prosecution. It's what we're calling a hunt.
I was a trophy for these idiots. I was dragged into solitary, no food or water. Those prosecutors should have been put in a Cuisinart and turned on high.
When she didn't want to give it up, she pointed us to things that would give it up on her behalf. Her prison diaries, the letters to her husband during the breakup of their marriage.
If you're married and your husband starts to cheat on you, he's a piece of Get out of that marriage.
Didn't you have an affair early on?
Yeah, but I don't think Andy ever knew about that. I could have just been a miserable has-been housewife, but I didn't let that happen to myself. And I'm so happy I didn't.
Now, it's going to cost a lot more money to enjoy magic at Disney World. The House of Mouse is raising next year's ticket and pass prices. Annual passes went up between $30 and $100. The cheapest option is for Florida residents only and now costs about $470. The most expensive pass is more than $1,500. Ticket prices for the holiday season next year have also hit new highs. To visit the Magic Kingdom this year, a one park ticket for guests over the age of 9 is as much as $189. Next year, that will go up $10 more. The most expensive time to visit is usually around Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. For next year, Disney's calendar shows ticket prices are at their lowest in August and September. Visitors can also look for Disney promotions to bring down costs or deals from authorized third parties. Okay, quickly before I go here, Wall Street closed lower today. Benchmark S&P 500 had its third consecutive daily decline. U.S. Treasury yields as well on the rise again. The benchmark 10-year U.S. Treasury yields reached a 3-month high. McDonald's tumbled after an E. coli infection linked to its quarter-pounder hamburgers. Boeing as well dropped after the plane maker reported a quarterly loss of $6 billion due to the strike. U.S. markets near record level highs, but a combination of earnings, a changing monetary policy outlook, and the upcoming presidential election will test this rally and could give a rise to some volatility. All right, that's all for today's Business Matters, and back to you, Fiona.
Don, thanks for all of that. I mean, I think what really stood out there was that airport goodbye time.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to my co-host earlier in the day about this. 20 seconds, I mean, I feel like normal hugs last longer than 20 seconds. And if you're saying goodbye to somebody who's going away for potentially a very long time, I feel like 20 seconds, man, not enough.
I know, it just doesn't seem like something you can really put a time limit on, you know?
Well, I guess they're considering they want to move traffic around. They don't want, blockage of any sort at the airport. I mean, You got to balance that.
Well, I hope that other airports don't catch on to this trend. I hope it stays in New Zealand.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Don.